everyone. Hi. Welcome. Let me know if you guys can see and hear me okay in the live. I can see there's a couple people already in the chat. Hi, Stacey. Hi, Sio Wu. Welcome. Welcome back to the new and improved time for the live stream. I hope that it was all clear and you guys managed to get here okay. Yeah. Chan says hello. Hello, Chan. Goo says hi. Hi, Goo. Nice to meet you. I think you're a new viewer. But yeah, how has your week been, everyone? Let me know in the comments what you've been up to. In the UK, it's been quite a good week, actually. So we had like a mini heat wave where it's been quite sunny weather. It's still sunny today. I'm looking out my window and it looks very lovely. But on Tuesday, it was particularly hot weather. It was like 17 degrees or something like that, which is quite hot for the UK, or at least it's hotter than it has been recently. And that was just really lovely. So I've made the most of that and gone to the beach with friends most evenings this week, which I've been enjoying very much. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys have been up to. G says hi everyone. Hi G, how are you? Also, I just want to wish everyone a happy Easter. I don't know how many viewers celebrate Easter, but it is Easter weekend. So today is actually Good Friday. So it's a bank holiday for everyone in the UK. They get a 4-day weekend. So they get Friday and Monday off. And I think I just said it's Easter Monday today. Oh my goodness, I must be going crazy. It's not, it's Good Friday today if I said it was Easter Monday. Getting all my days confused. But yes, either way, it's the bank holiday this weekend. So everyone's making lots of nice plans to spend time with their friends and their family. So that's really good. Sky says that it's nice weather in Korea, but there's lots of fine dust. Yes, I've heard it's been quite warm and spring-like in Korea this week, and I hear that the cherry blossoms are out in bloom, so that's very lovely. So I hope you guys have been managing to get out and see those cherry blossoms. Chang Min says hi everyone. Hi Chang Min. And Dong Han says, hi, Flora. Hi, Dong Han. Welcome back. And Sky says, thank God it's Friday. Yes, thank God it's Friday. What are your guys' plans for the weekend? So as I just mentioned, it's Easter weekend. And on Easter Sunday, I've got some plans with my family. We're going to meet up at my mum's house in her garden because we're allowed to have groups of 6 outside now with the COVID restrictions in the UK. So we're going to have Easter breakfast together in my mum's back garden with coffee and something called a hot cross bun. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that before, but it's basically just like a bakery item, but like a sweet bun type thing, and it's got like a cross on the front of it, and it's also got like different flavors in it. So like my favorite is kind of like an apple spiced cinnamon flavor, and it's also got like sultanas or raisins in it as well, and you toast it in the toaster so it's all like nice and toasty and crispy, and then you put lots of butter or jam, maybe honey, on it, and they're very, very tasty. And for some reason they're associated with spring, or for some reason my family associates them with spring. So we're going to have that for breakfast with some nice coffee as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then I'm also meeting up with some friends for a walk, which is very exciting because I haven't seen my friends in a very long time because of lockdown. So I'm excited. Now the restrictions are easing, the weather's getting a bit sunnier. It's nice to get outside and see people. There are lots of people saying hello on the chat. Beatrice says hello. Hello, Beatrice. Welcome back. Aguinaldo says hi. Hello. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. I'm very sorry if I'm totally butchering it, but hello. Welcome to the live stream. Aiden says hi. Hi, Aiden. Sia Wu says it's warm weather as it's spring and already the cherry flowers are blooming. Yes. I hear that they're looking very beautiful, especially around the Han River. I'm very jealous. I wish I could come see the cherry blossoms around the Han River. Dong Han says, do you fancy a Yorkshire pudding? So I guess that's in response to my Easter breakfast plans with my family. And I like Yorkshire puddings, but they're more of like a roast dinner kind of feel. So they're quite filling and they go more with like gravy and stuff. So they're not actually an Easter thing. In a way, I associate them more with like Christmas and Christmas dinner. Sky says, do you have any kind of egg on Easter Sunday? Good question. So yeah, as you know, it's very traditional for us to eat chocolate eggs on Easter Sunday. I haven't bought myself any yet. I don't know if my mum's bought me one. But what I'm planning on doing is I'm planning on buying some mini chocolate eggs for me and my family. And I'm also planning on getting lots of different sized Easter eggs. And then I'm going to make an Easter egg hunt for my friends. So we're going on a walk and a picnic. And I'm going to surprise them with an Easter egg hunt. So wherever we sit down, I'm going to hide the Easter eggs in different locations and get them to find them. Another thing actually that I don't know if this is just my family, but it's a tradition that we do for Easter that might seem a little bit strange, is we hard boil eggs, so like normal chicken eggs. We hard boil them. Then we decorate them with like different funny faces or like patterns. We give them a name and then we roll them down a hill. So we roll them down a hill and we see whose can get the furthest and then they win. I think the way we do it is we give a point for decoration, a point for the name, and a point for whoever's egg can get the furthest down the hill. Beatrice says, I'll have Easter lunch. Very nice, Beatrice. Do you celebrate Easter? I've forgotten what country you're coming from, Beatrice, but I feel like it might be a South American one, and I think that Easter's celebrated quite a lot over there. Let me know. Sia Wu says, Easter Sunday, I will need boiling eggs. So Sia Wu, it sounds like you also do the egg thing that me and my family do. I didn't realise that other people did it. I thought it was just us being weird. Solmi says, good to see you again, Flora. Is it far to get to your mum's house? It will be really nice Easter holiday. Want to experience it one day. It's not very far. I actually live in my hometown, so I live quite close to my mum, so it'll only take me like 15 minutes to cycle there. So that's quite good. And yeah, one day you must come to like a European country, or honestly, if you want to go somewhere that celebrates Easter in like quite a big way, then I would go to a more Catholic country. So maybe like Spain or Italy or a South American country. The Easter celebrations there, I think, are more impressive. We don't celebrate Easter as much as like Christmas, for example, in the UK. It's more of just like, it's quite fun. It's quite chill. It's quite low key, which I often kind of prefer Easter celebrations to Christmas celebrations because it's more relaxed. There's less like pressure. You get 4 days off, which is pretty good usually. I mean, I suppose you get a week off with Christmas, so that's better. But also the weather's just kind of nicer. It's sunnier. I quite like the transition from winter into spring and thinking about like the new baby animals that are being born, and you can go visit like baby chicks and baby lambs if you go to different farms. So I don't know, I kind of prefer Easter in a way to Christmas. But yeah. Beatrice says she's in Brazil. Of course, I must remember that now. So Beatrice from Brazil. And she says they celebrate Easter in Brazil. What do you guys do to celebrate Easter in Brazil? Let me know in the chat box. And Sky asks, is it like a treasure hunt, as in what I'm doing with the chocolate eggs? And yeah, pretty much, Sky. So a tradition in the UK for Easter, this is usually with kids, is you'll get mini chocolate eggs and that are like usually wrapped in like a colourful foil. and you'll hide them outside in like a garden or maybe around the house. And then you do an Easter egg hunt where people have to run around looking in all the different places, trying to find as many chocolate Easter eggs as they can. And traditionally, I suppose you're meant to just keep the eggs you find, but often what people will do is you'll collect all the eggs back in at the end, and then divide them up fairly and evenly. It depends on how your family do it, to be honest. Nick says, hi everyone. Hi Flora. Hi Nick, welcome. And Aidan says, last Friday, one of the tutors back in the University of Portsmouth sent me a couple of photos of beautiful Easter eggs she had received from people around on her WhatsApp, which made me feel happy for her. Oh, that's very nice. Are these like chocolate Easter eggs, I suppose? Good for her. I haven't got any yet. And Donghan asks, how do you normally relate eggs and Easter? That's a good question. And I'm not entirely sure 100% what the answer is, but I'm assuming it's because Easter happens around spring. And in springtime, new baby animals are born, especially chicks. So you'll see on like Easter themed stuff, things like bunny rabbits, maybe little sheep, and a lot of baby chickens. So this is the time of year where they're all born. And obviously they come from eggs. So I think that is how Easter and egg has kind of become connected, because it's more about about springtime and the season. I don't think there's anything directly related to like Christianity or a Christ coming back from the dead and eggs. I think it's more of like a modern day thing. But yeah. Okay, shall we get started with today's topic? I'm very excited to talk to you guys about the topic today. So today we're talking about travel in Europe, which is something I've done a lot of. I've only been outside of Europe once in my life, which was in 2019 and 2020. I lived in Vietnam for 6 months. But before then, I had never left Europe. So every holiday I've been on has always been within Europe. And I love traveling around. I love seeing European cities. I think there's so many interesting places to go. There's so much difference. I always feel quite privileged to have such easy access to the continent of Europe, because I think that there's such a variation of places to travel. Like the kind of holiday you're going to get in Germany, or the kind of experiences you're going to have in Germany, will be very different to the kind of experiences you're going to have in like Greece or Croatia. So I feel very lucky to be not too far away from Europe. And I guess technically a part of Europe, as much as Brexit is a thing. But we're not going to get into Brexit today. Hermione says, hi Flora and the other people in this chat box. Lovely to meet you. Hello Hermione, welcome to the live. I believe you must be a new viewer. Welcome to the chat box. And Donghan says, lovely. And Beatrice has responded to my question about what they do in Brazil on Easter Sunday. And she says, in Brazil we eat fish. Ah yeah, fish is very important in Christianity, isn't it? In Brazil, we eat fish for Friday at lunchtime, and on Sunday we meet your family and exchange chocolate. Very nice. Kind of not too different from the UK, except we've kind of lost a lot of the Christian traditions these days, and now kind of opt for more like capitalist things, just like excessively buying loads and loads of chocolate Easter eggs. But yes, anyway, sorry, back onto the topic of today's live stream. So, traveling in Europe. I think before I get into the top 3 must-see destinations, I wanted to show you guys something. So, as I was just saying, I have travelled a fair amount in my life around different European countries. And one of the main times that I've travelled abroad was when I went interrailing with my friends when I was like 18. Yeah, I just turned 18. And we did this big trip around Europe, which was really, really fun. and we went to 4 different countries. And I just wanted to show you guys some pictures from that trip. Actually, on today's presentation, all the pictures I have for you guys are all my own pictures. So they're all pictures I have taken on my travels. So that's quite nice, I think. But yeah, so these photos are taken from a trip I went on with my friends when I was 18. And we started in Amsterdam, then we went to Berlin, then Prague, and then Budapest. So if you can see this photo here, these 2 photos here are from Prague. This is Amsterdam. These ones are taken in Berlin, as you can kind of see. I wonder if I can zoom in at all. Oh, no, I can't. That's sad. Can I zoom in? No, I can't. But anyway, if you look closely at this photo in the bottom corner, this is quite a famous picture that's on the Berlin Wall. And it's of, I've forgotten the names of the 2 politicians, but it's of 2 politicians. I guess they must be German politicians, or maybe one of them's Russian. But it's of 2 politicians from the time before the fall of the Berlin Wall, so I guess maybe the 80s, kissing. And then it's all my friends hugging each other in front of it, because we thought that was quite cute. But yeah, so that's the Berlin Wall. And this is a very famous site in Berlin. I think it's called the something gate. I can't remember now. I probably should have Googled it beforehand. But this is all of us doing yoga poses in front of it, and also someone's thumb helpfully in the way of that photo. And this photo is taken in Amsterdam. It's near the Anne Frank Museum, which is a very good museum that I really recommend you guys to go to. You can see her house, and it's really touching. And then down here we have my friends lying in front of some flowers in Budapest when it was very, very hot, and we were waiting for a taxi to get our flight home, actually. This was like the last day of our very long travels. So as you can see, we were all very tired at that point. But yeah, no, that was a really fun trip that I really enjoyed, and me and my friends reminisce about it often. But before we get started and talking about like the different top destinations, I would love to know where you guys have been, if you guys have ever travelled in Europe, and what you think. Jamie asks, how long did you travel? So this trip that I went on with my friends, I think it was 2 weeks. But then the following year, I went on another trip with a different group of friends and my boyfriend at the time. And we travelled for 5 weeks, also around Europe. And I'll get into some of those locations in a moment. But on the second interrailing trip, we went to, where did we start? We started in Vienna. Then we went to Zagreb in Croatia, then Budapest. And then at that point, me and my boyfriend went off on our own for like 3 weeks. And we went to Split, Sarajevo and Belgrade, which are in the Balkan areas of southern Eastern Europe. But I'm going to tell you more about those locations later. But yeah, so when I've been on like my big travels in Europe, usually I go for like 1 week, 2 weeks, or the longest one I've been for is 5 weeks. Beatrice says, did you travel by train? And yes, I did. So I did something called interrailing, which is a thing you can do. I think anyone can do it. It just the price is sometimes cheaper, I think, if you're European, but sadly I don't think it's cheaper anymore because of Brexit, so that's sad. But at the time it was cheaper. And you just get like this pass, and then you can book trains with it, and you just scribble down like your train details on it. And I would really suggest traveling around the continent by train, because the trains in Europe are actually really, really good. They're compared to like British trains anyway, which are absolutely rubbish. They're really efficient. They don't take that long. It's more environmentally friendly. And I think you get to see more of the countries, and it feels a little bit more like an adventure, especially when you get an overnight train. Though those can be brutal, but I think they're definitely worth it. Sorry about the lighting change. I think the sun just went in. Sky is guessing the two politicians that were kissing, and she says Leonid Brezhnev and Erich Honecker. Maybe. I feel like one of them could be Bolshevik, but I'm not Bolshevik. Oh no, I'm definitely revealing my ignorance here, aren't I? I stopped studying history in year 9, so my knowledge on this kind of thing is actually very terrible, so I really apologise. I think Bolshevik is just the name of the kind of ideology in the USSR. I don't know, but perhaps Sky is right. Probably. Donghan says, I've been to Prague, Amsterdam, and Berlin too. Those photos are reminding me of those places. That's nice. Excellent. What did you think of those cities? Did you like them? And what was your favourite? And Hermione says that she has a picture with her friends at the Berlin Wall, just like mine. Ah, yeah, I think it's a very classic thing to do as tourists in Berlin, to go and look at the Berlin Wall. And I think it's very important. It's a great time capsule of history, and it's a really important time to remember. And also some of the artwork on there is just incredible. So yeah, definitely recommend. It's called the East Side Gallery, which is where you can walk along and look at all the street art on the Berlin Wall. And Aguinaldo, please let me know if I'm saying your name correctly, because I feel like I'm butchering it. But Aguinaldo says, what city do you like the most? Well, that's really tricky. So I've got the 3 top places, which I will reveal shortly, which are probably my favourite. But out of the cities from the trip that I just showed you pictures of, my favourite city, that's so hard, because they're all quite different. Maybe Budapest? Budapest was really nice because in Hungary it gets very hot and sunny in the summertime, which is lovely. And they have these things called ruin bars, which are really, really cool. They're kind of like, I don't know what they used to be, but they're kind of very boho in a way, and they're very, very fun. And they also have these bath houses, which are very cool. They're like nice big swimming pools where people are like lounging around, and they're quite nice. Either that or Berlin. I think we were a bit too young in Berlin at the time, because when you're 18, they don't always let you into all of the clubs. And I think in order to fully enjoy Berlin, it would be better to go as like a bit of an older adult. So now I'm almost 25. I think I'd like to go back to Berlin and see what that would be like now that I'm older. Hermione says, I've lived in the UK for 2 years, and one of the best things about living in London is that I could access lots of countries in Europe super easily. Yes, exactly. Especially in London, because you've got things like the Eurostar, which is a train that goes like underground from London to different places in Northern Europe. So most commonly to Paris, but I also think to Brussels and sometimes to Holland as well. So yeah, it is super convenient. That is a really good thing. It's a really good big privilege of living in the UK. I feel even more jealous of people who are actually living in the European continent, because then it's even easier because they don't have to like get over the sea. Aidan says, I made a short stopover in Amsterdam on the way to Heathrow, and unfortunately it was not better than I expected to say. It was not better than what I had expected it to be. I could say I should have spent more time in the city. I'm taking that to mean you liked Amsterdam, Aidan? I've been back to Amsterdam quite 2 years ago, and I really love Amsterdam. And I was really surprised that I actually managed to remember how to get around it, which was quite enjoyable. I guess because it's a relatively small city, because Holland is a relatively small country. And so it's quite easy to get around, which is nice. And also in Amsterdam, there's lots of cool things to see, like the Vondelpark is somewhere I'd like to go back to. It's really, really pretty. It's just this big green park with really nice trees and big ponds, and you can cycle around it on your Dutch bikes. And it's really, really nice. Nick says, I'm really surprised about So this is talking about Easter again. So a bit of a tangent, but I'm here for it. So Nick says, I'm really surprised about the painting eggs and rolling them down the hill. I thought it was a staple Russian tradition, which is now outdated. Oh, that's really interesting. So I guess maybe it just must be European then, a European tradition. I don't really hear of many people doing it in the UK, to be honest. I always thought it was just a weird thing that my family did. My family are Scottish. I don't know if it's something they do in Scotland particularly. I just thought my mum made it up personally, and she's not Scottish. It's my grandmother's Scottish. But I'll have to ask her. I'll have to give her a ring after this live stream and be like, why do we roll eggs down the hill? Where did it come from? But I think other people do it too. But yeah, I think it's quite an odd tradition, not very common. But I like it. Solmi says, back in the day when I was 19, I went to Paris, Nice, London and Prague alone. It was lonely and not really wonderful not as wonderful as I expected. But I can travel alone better after the experience. Yeah, that's a good question. What do you guys think about solo travel? Because I've not done it that much. I did it a little bit when I was in Vietnam. I went on some trips on my own. But whenever I've done like some trips alone, like I don't enjoy them as much. I think I prefer having just like one or two people with me. Traveling in a big group can be annoying because lots of people have different opinions, and then it's really hard to like pick somewhere to eat, for example, or pick what you're going to do. But traveling totally on your own, you can do what you want, but then I like having someone there to share the experience with. So yeah, I think traveling with one other person that I'm really close to, or two other people, like two friends, I think is good because then you have like a little partner in crime to share the experience with. What do you guys think? Stacey says, I have never been abroad, but I've only been in Korea for about 30 years. Stacey, you got to get out. You got to get traveling if you want to. Although, that being said, there are so many cool things to see in South Korea. I really, really want to come and travel to South Korea, and I really want to go to Jeju Island. So, luckily, South Korea is an amazing country. Hermione says, I love Cornwall and Brighton a lot. Porto and Barcelona are also amazing. Well, Hermione, as you're new to the live stream, you won't know, but I'm actually from Brighton. So I was born in Brighton. I currently live in Brighton. So I'm glad that you like Brighton so much. I like it too. It's very nice. As I was saying at the beginning of the live stream, it's very, very hot and sunny recently in the UK. So I've been down at Brighton Beach a lot, if that means anything to you. But I agree. I've not been to Porto, but I've been to Lisbon, and I so almost put Lisbon as my top 3 destinations, but I only went there for the weekend, so I didn't feel like I experienced enough of it to put it as one of my destinations. But I love Portugal. I love the Portuguese language. I think it's beautiful, especially Brazilian Portuguese. And I absolutely love Lisbon, and I really, really want to go to Porto. So maybe that'll be the next place I travel when we can travel. I should start saving up. And Stacey says, my friend recommended Brighton in the UK and I hope to travel soon. Well, Stacey, let me know if you come to Brighton. I can show you around. Nice. Okay, I think because of the time, there's lots of questions. But I think because of the time, I'm going to move on to my top 3 destinations, and then I'll come back and answer your questions afterwards. Although also just a hello to Guyun, who has just joined the chat. Hi Guyun. So they said that it started late today. I didn't know it was a live stream until this time, and a long time I haven't seen it because of exam period. Well, welcome back, Guyun. The live stream changed time this week because the clocks changed in the UK. So now it's going to start at 2 p.m. GMT time every Friday. So that is the new time. But yes, okay, let's get started. I'm going to tell you about my top 3 must-see destinations in Europe. So the first one is moving the wrong thing. Lake Bled. So, well, it's two places in a way, so I did kind of cheat, but it is Ljubljana and Lake Bled. So Ljubljana / Lake Bled are in Slovenia, which is a country in Central Europe. It's kind of located in between Austria, Italy, and Croatia. So it's that kind of area of Europe. And Ljubljana is the capital city of Slovenia, and then Lake Bled is like a lake, obviously, about a 40-minute drive outside of Ljubljana. And it's a really beautiful place to go and visit. It's really good for a city break. I went there for about a week and really, really enjoyed it. It's quite small, so it's really easy to get around, but then there's lots to do, including visiting the lake, which I think I may have even done twice well, when I was out there. I can't remember now because it was in 2017, so it was like 4 years ago. But I had a really good time. There's quite a mixture of history there because Ljubljana was a part of the former Yugoslavia. You're going to notice a theme about Yugoslavia in some of today's locations because basically when I was younger, I was really interested in the former Yugoslavia and really interested in its history. And for those of you who don't know, it's like a ex-communist state. I think it was part of the is it called the USSR? I don't know if I'm just saying the wrong letters. I'm going to quickly, Soviet Union. It was a part of the Soviet Union along with other countries, so obviously like Russia, East Germany, all these places. And Yugoslavia was made up of different countries in southern Eastern Europe. So Slovenia was probably like the most west country in Yugoslavia. And it has a really interesting history because it's always been under foreign rule. So it's got a mixture of more classical European architecture and brutalist communist architecture because I think it was a part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire and then Yugoslavia. So it's got both of these cultures mixed in it, which again is another theme that you're going to notice in these locations that I'm picking, is that there's like, you can very tangibly recognize the different cultures that have been in these places, and history is very important to me in deciding places to travel. I like to go somewhere that's got quite like interesting history, especially with politics. A fun fact that I learned about Slovenia on a walking tour, so this is a bit of a tip for anyone, if you're going to go on a trip to a European city, definitely do a walking tour the first day you get there, because you'll learn, one, your way around the city, and two, you'll learn so many interesting facts, and it's a really fun way to also meet people as well, meet fellow travellers. So yeah, I recommend doing that. And a fact I learned on a walking tour was that Slovenians take a lot of pride in their language, and the statues they have in Ljubljana are not of like politicians or war heroes like they are in like for England, for example. Like we've got lots of statues of like generals or politicians like Winston Churchill or Margaret Thatcher, but they have it of like poets and artists because the country was under foreign rule for like 1,000 years. But they kept their language. So their language became a big part of their national identity and is really important to them. And I thought that was really interesting and quite different to other countries who tend to focus more on like politicians and stuff. And then Lake Bled is actually, so this is down here, the bottom picture is Lake Bled. And it is probably my happy place. If I could click my fingers and go anywhere, it probably would be Lake Bled, mainly because I love swimming, I love natural swimming, and so this is a big body of natural water and it's absolutely beautiful. And the water's really clean as well. And I went paddleboarding there and it was a really lovely experience. I paddleboarded right out to, if you can see the kind of island in the middle of the lake, I paddleboarded out to there, or we paddleboarded almost to there. I'm not sure if we made it the whole way. But yeah, I love Ljubljana. It's great. All right. Wow, I've just checked the comments box. There's so many questions. um, so Jamie, I think, has said something about traveling alone. So they have said, sometimes traveling alone is attractive to me because unexpected things can happen, like meeting new friends. And Aidan agrees with Jamie, and that's why we decide to travel alone. Yes. Oh, yes. That's true. Yeah, you can make new friends along the way. But I always find I prefer making new friends with another person as well. And Nick is correcting me. I'm so glad that I have someone here to fact check me. Nick says Yugoslavia wasn't part of USSR. I think it was connected though. I know that the Yugoslavia was communist to some degree. And I know that Tito, the head of Yugoslavia, was connected with Stalin in some way, like maybe just like allies. Do correct me in the comments, Nick, because you probably have a better knowledge than I do, being Russian. But thank you for correcting me. Stacey says, when I was a child, I was very interested in Europe. Tell me more. What happened next? And KJ says, I and most Koreans are not aware of the Slovenian poets and novels, are we? I'm not surprised. I was also not aware. I mean, I could not name a Slovenian poet or novel. I'm currently reading a Polish novel, but that's a different country. But I just really liked that is what they took national pride in. I thought it was very beautiful. Okay, let's move on to the next destination, which is Sarajevo. So this was kind of connected to Slovenia. I didn't go to these places in the same trip. I went to Sarajevo many years ago when I was 19, and then like 3 years later when I was 21, we decided to go to Slovenia. Basically, me and an old boyfriend had a dream of trying to go and visit all the different countries in Yugoslavia / most of the countries in the Balkans. We didn't ever complete it, unfortunately, but we got to quite a few of them. We did a lot of them in the 5-week trip I mentioned earlier, and then we decided just us two to go to Slovenia, and we had plans to go to other ones, but unfortunately it never happened. But Sarajevo was one of the places I went to in the 5-week trip. And Sarajevo is in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I think it's the capital. I believe it is the capital. And it's in the Balkans, which is an area of southeastern Europe. The really interesting thing about Sarajevo, similar to Ljubljana, is it was a stronghold in the Ottoman and Austro-Hungarian Empire, which means that the city is like got very, very interesting architecture because it's a mixture between kind of almost Turkish-looking architecture and then also really like classical European, Austrian-looking architecture. And in fact, like one of the tourist like spots that you people will take you to go look at if you do a tour or something, is that there's this street, and if you stand at one point in the street and you look one way, then it looks like you're in Istanbul. And there's like loads of beautiful mosques and like loads of like shisha bars and all these kinds of things. And then you turn the other way around and you look at the other side of the street and it looks like you're in Vienna, based on like the architecture of the buildings. And it's crazy because you're just in one place. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Sarajevo has a very important European history, because it is where Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated, which is what sparked the beginning of World War One. And I've put a slightly embarrassing photo of myself on here, but never mind. If you look at the bottom photo on the presentation, that's me. That's me when I'm 19. I have a really terrible haircut and I hated it. But yeah, it's very short. But yeah, so that's me when I was 19, and I'm standing at the spot where Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated. And you can see there's like a little plaque there that tells you about it. So that makes Sarajevo a very relevant and interesting part of history. And as I've mentioned before, so a big reason we visited Sarajevo was because it was a part of Yugoslavia, and it actually endured during the breakup of the Yugoslavia. It endured like the longest war. So each of the countries are now separate countries. The way that they came out of the Yugoslavia varied quite a lot. So in Ljubljana, there was a 10-day war, and then they were independent. In Croatia, I can't remember how long their war was, but I know that in Sarajevo and in Bosnia, the war was a lot longer. And it actually the city of Sarajevo suffered a siege during the war. And I went on a siege tour whilst I was there, where I learned about it, and I visited several spots that were like important in the siege. There was something called like Sniper Valley, where people would like have sniper guns if you were like walking across the street and stuff, which was obviously incredibly sad, but also incredibly interesting. And I think one of the most heartbreaking but interesting and amazing exhibitions I've ever been to in my life was in Sarajevo. There, because the breakup of the Yugoslavia happened in the 1990s, cameras were obviously very well developed, which is something we've noticed now in more conflicts these days. They're obviously better documented than in the past because we've got digital cameras. And there was loads of like war photography taken of the siege, and just of people around at the time, and it's excruciatingly heartbreaking, but it was just really impactful and an important exhibition to attend. Before I move on, another thing we also saw, just referencing the top picture, like the biggest picture on the presentation, is of an abandoned Olympic park, which is quite a cool thing to see. I saw that on the siege tour that we went on. And so Sarajevo was held the Winter Olympic Games. I can't remember what year, but at one point it held the Winter Olympic Games, and the Olympic Park is just abandoned, and you can this must have been like a sledding thing or something, but you can walk up and down it, which is pretty surreal, but also really cool. Oh yeah, and the last thing that I'll say about Sarajevo is they have the best bread. Oh my God, there is this like type of like flatbread or something that I still remember now, even though I went in, oh my God, when would I have gone? I think I must have gone, I was 19 and I'm now 25, so I must have gone 6 years ago. But they have this bread in Bosnia, which is just incredible. And you can't find it anywhere outside of Bosnia. I think it's made with like a special kind of wheat or something that only grows there. So you have to go to Sarajevo to try the bread because it's incredible. Good. So Nick is giving us some more information. Thank you very much, Nick. He says, well, it's intricate, but I will try. Thank you. The USSR had political and some kind of political influence in any other country, in any other independent communist country. That rings a bell. Yeah, that makes sense. So the Yugoslavia wasn't strictly a part of the USSR, it was independent, but the USSR had relationships and some influence within it. And I think that's what I mistook for membership. So thank you for clearing that up, Nick. Very, very helpful. I'm glad we have someone here who can correct my mistakes. Stacey says, when I was a child, I was interested in European history and culture. I would read books about European countries I dreamed to travel and to when I grew up. Very nice. Well, I hope you're finding this presentation interesting. Maybe it can inspire you for more travels. Beatrice asks, have you been to Istanbul? No, I haven't been, but I would love to go. I would really, really love to go to Istanbul. But I've not been. Have you been? Oh, Aiden says you look great with the short hair. Thank you. That's very sweet. I'll stick with the long hair for now, though. KJ says Sarajevo is familiar to Koreans because of a Korean table tennis heroine and the hostage case. Interesting. Is that connected to the war, KJ? I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. Oh, they've said that the name of the Korean female table tennis champion was Sarajevo. Oh, I see. Oh, okay, I get it. Interesting. Nice. And Stacey says, however, I haven't had enough money and time so far, but now I'm saving up some money. But I know it's dangerous to travel overseas, but I'm not sure when the pandemic is over. And Nick says, Stacey, I really understand you. I've got a similar situation. So it sounds like you guys would love to travel, but you haven't had the opportunity to yet. Yes, traveling is definitely like a privilege. And I feel very lucky to have been able to travel in my life. I know that not everyone can do it. And I think, hopefully maybe when the pandemic is over, people will be able to have the opportunity to travel more, because I think it's just really fun and really good. And if you're interested in culture and history, it's just really nice to be able to go to the place and experience it more, because it is a little bit different to just reading about it. So I hope you guys get the opportunity to in the future. Okay, now let's move on to the last of my places, because I see we're running out of time. Oh, my goodness, going crazy. There we go. So the last place on my list is Andalusia, which is not a city, it's a region. So it's a southern autonomous region of Spain. And I lived there for 3 months teaching English in 2019. And I really, really loved my time there. I think that it's probably like the happiest I've been for 3 months straight in a row. So Seville and Andalusia is known for just being really hot and sunny. Its nickname is the frying pan of Europe. And there's loads of different places to see in Andalusia. So there's Seville, as I've mentioned, Granada, which is like a mountainous area, Cadiz and Malaga, which are like beaches, and there's many more. And when I was in Seville, the thing I enjoyed most about it was I liked the city itself. It was very beautiful. But I really enjoyed getting out to the like countryside nearby, because there was lots of like nice like mountainous regions. As you can see in the top photo, that's me feeding a donkey in a mountain. And then below, in a different area, there was like natural waterfalls. So the nature in the south of Spain, I think, is really, really beautiful. So another thing that I also enjoyed in Spain is the food in Seville. Oh my goodness, there was loads of really good places to eat that were quite cheap. There was this one restaurant called Contenedor, which I think it means something, the fork in Spanish, I'm not sure. My Spanish didn't improve as much as it should have when I lived there. But it's a place that offered like seasonal food. So it was like quite eco-friendly, and it would just use ingredients that were grown in the local areas at that time of year. So the menu would always change based on what they could source, like organically. But it was absolutely delicious and not that expensive, considering how like organic and fresh and great it was. And another really cool thing about Seville is if you go around this time of year, actually, it's around Easter, they have something called Semana Santa, which is the week leading up to Easter, where they have these giant religious celebrations where they parade around the city with these, I've forgotten the Spanish name for them now, but they're like these big floats that have like religious depictions on them. As you can see in the picture at the bottom there, there's like big crowds and stuff. Do you remember being in a crowd? That was fun. I miss being in crowds with the pandemic. But yeah, it was really quite remarkable to see, because in the UK, we don't have religious celebrations that are that public. So I found it really interesting experience. There was loads of incense all the time. It smelled great. Yeah. So Aidan says, why is Seville, or why is Andalusia, called the frying pan of Europe? Because it's very hot. That is why. That's the only reason, is just because it's a very, very hot place in Europe, and that's why it's called the frying pan. Okay, so I have just noticed the time, and I'm afraid we're coming to the end of today's live stream. So we don't have time for the mini quiz today, which I'm very sad about. But does anyone have any final questions before we say goodbye? Sio Wu says, I always get itchy feet in the spring, but COVID has stuck me. All the same, when COVID's over, I will go travel first. Yes, I feel like we're all feeling that feeling. I think for a lot of people, this will be the longest time that they've spent just even in their city. I mean, it's the longest time I've spent in my room or my house. Like, I've got itchy feet and I'm excited to go explore more of the UK, never mind abroad. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to traveling more as well. I can relate to that feeling. All right, well, I guess we will leave it there. Oh, actually, sorry, Dong Hung has just asked me a good question. They have asked, where's your favourite place in Brighton? Oh, the beach, probably. I would say either the beach or actually there's an area of Brighton that I really like, and it was where I was born. So I lived there when I was a baby. But there's an area called Hanover or Elm Grove, and I quite like it around there. There's a park called Queen's Park, and I think it's just quite a nice community. There's some good charity shops. There's some nice like cafes, loads of pubs. So I think that's my favourite like residential area of Brighton. Sky says, I've got itchy feet after seeing those pictures. Me too, yeah, because they're all my pictures. They made me very sad. I was like, because they all were from a very long time ago. I was like, oh no, I miss travelling. I miss holidays. But yes, hopefully when the pandemic's over, we'll all have more opportunities to get out and about and see new things. Very exciting. But yes, I think that's all we have time for today's live stream. Thank you guys so much for talking with me today about traveling in Europe. I hope you enjoyed hearing about the different locations. Next week's topic will be decided again by the poll. So if you keep an eye out on the community page of the Britcent channel, I'll be putting up another poll with different options for stuff for us to talk about next week. So if you can please vote in there, that would be very helpful. And just before I say goodbye, I'm going to answer 2 more comments. So KJ says, my friend lives in Sevilla. That's the correct Spanish pronunciation. I said Seville earlier because that's how you say it in English. But so my friend lives in Sevilla doing a travel guide, but after Andalusia is blocked or quarantined, he didn't have work as a guide for ages. Oh yeah, I feel so bad for everyone in the tourism industry. With COVID, it must have been a really, really hard time. So I really feel sorry for your friend, KJ. And lastly, Nick says, I was always wondering about the fact that young people from Europe, England, or any other Welsh country can travel. Besides that fact that they are young students. How is it possible? Okay, good question. So, I think that, as you said, Nick, people from Europe or England or wealthy countries, we're just automatically in a very privileged position in general. And the reason I think we can afford to travel, I think, is for some this wasn't the case for myself, but for some young people, their parents will give them money and will fund it, because maybe travel in our countries is seen as like important, or not even just seen as important. It seems like something that we all will do. I think we take for granted a lot that, so British people assume that a holiday every summer is just something you do. It's something you have. And I think we take that for granted, that actually going on holiday, going traveling at all is actually a massive privilege that we get. So I think it is kind of taken for granted in our countries. But a reason why it was possible for me to travel when I was younger, I traveled more when I was a kind of a sixth form high school student and an A-level student and a university student. That was when I travelled the most, and I think that's because I didn't have as many responsibilities. So when I worked part-time jobs, all my money went pretty much towards my summer plans, which would be travelling or going to festivals. So that's how it was possible for me, and I think that's the case for a lot of young people in the UK. Is when you're younger, you have less things to pay for. You're not paying rent really because you're living with your parents, and you're not paying bills if you're living with your parents. And you've just got less financial responsibilities, so more spare income if you're working a Saturday job to go and travel. But we're already in a privileged position to be able to save that money up, basically. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you for bringing it up, Nick. I think that was a very important topic to talk about when we're talking about travel. Aiden says, no mini quiz with sad faces, as does Beatrice. Sorry, guys. I know we ran out of time for the mini quiz. I'll make sure that we do an extra special mini quiz next week. Don't worry. Maybe we could do today's mini quiz next week as well. We'll see. Stacey says, thank you for today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, Flora. Thank you. Beatrice says, great live stream. Thanks. Goodbye. And Nick says, now I see the point. Thank you for your reply. You're welcome, Nick. Thank you for asking me that very important question. All right. Mustache, as we say in England. Goodbye, guys. I look forward to seeing you next week. All right. Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye.